What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. So today we're having another episode of my Deep Dive series, this time looking at rest tricking. I wanted to talk about this a little bit because I've been feeling compelled to list some of the rest tricking options in my builds lately, because rules as written, you can do it, so I feel like I should point out when it's advantageous to the character. But not everyone seems to be on board with what rest tricking is, and I would also like to make the case that it should be banned through a house rule. But first, let's take a look and see what it actually is. So, according to the rules, which I have put on the screen, the long rest can be interrupted by up to 1 hour of strenuous activity, including combat or spell casting. It also says that you regain your resources at the end of a long rest, or when the rest is finished. So, if you were to have a battle 5 minutes before the end of your long rest, any resources or spells that you cast during that battle would count against your previous spell slot amount, and they would be refreshed 5 minutes later at the end of your long rest. So you don't even need the combat for that. You can cast a spell 5 minutes before the end of your long rest. You will get the slot back, and then you will also have the spell available if it was, 1 hour or 8 hours of duration. So that's the rules as written. I argued with my DM that I thought that was a little bit overpowered, and he disagreed. One, he does like to go by the rules as written, and two, his argument was that it doesn't actually create any more resources, that it only allows you to transfer resources from one day to the other, because if you try to rest trick, or if you do rest trick, then you actually use the slot, then you can't do it again the next day. But I don't buy that argument, personally, because to me, the resources that you would have used on a day off have no game impact, and so allowing them to be used actually does increase your resources during gameplay, which is what we care about, I think. So regardless of whether you agree with me or the DM, it is legal, rules as written, and if you don't like it, you're going to have to house rule it. So going by the rules as written, what can you do with this? Well, it just so happens that I had my final battle for Bilbron Bafflestone's campaign, which is now wrapped up. I'm probably going to do a storytelling series just to explain how it all went down, because I think it was pretty interesting. But for the purposes of this video, the point I'm trying to make is I went into it fully rest tricked. So not only did I have all my spell slots, but I also had a Death Ward, Gift of Alacrity, 30 extra hit points from Aid, Non-Detection, See Invisible, and 22 Tiny Servants. And yeah, the final battle went pretty well, and the Tiny Servants were crushing. So the rest tricking really helped me out, because in our campaign we travel a lot, and so I had a lot of days off, and then I would go into a day fully rest tricked. I mean, hey, I don't make the rules, I just play in them, and my DM felt like he could handle it, so there you go. So for convenience of the viewers, I have put a list of the spells that you can rest trick on the screen. The 8-hour ones are the most important ones, because the 8 hours will cover your entire adventuring day. The ones that are 1 hour in duration are more difficult to use. It has to be a situation where you're really prepping for battle and are coming off of a long rest and know that you've got a battle coming up in the next hour. And then you can get these 1 hour duration ones into play, which can be pretty amazing. I mean, that includes all the conjuration spells, like Conjure Elemental and stuff. So really, really great options there. But the 8-hour ones will always be helpful, and they are pretty powerful. So put that on the screen, and in the description I'll include a link to this page, and you can print it out for yourself, and hopefully that will help you. But in any case, I'll wrap it up. I hope everybody now understands what rest tricking is, that it is rules as written, that I think it's overpowered, and maybe you want to house rule that out of the game, but it's up to your DM. Maybe he's like my DM and he's going to allow it, in which case you as a player should 100% use it, even if you feel like it's a little overpowered, because what are you going to do? Walk onto the field not rest tricked, and then all of a sudden you're fighting enemies that are rest tricked? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I would rather be in the position of, having that overpowered level of ability and then, dialing it back for sake of the game, as opposed to walking into a combat where I don't have enough gun. Regardless, let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Brown Bafflestone. See you next time.